Scale signs, the signs that bring your models to life, are now available at Spring Creek Model Trains. Now you can shop a wide variety of trackside and roadside signs in Deschler, Nebraska, or at a train show near you. To see where Spring Creek Model Trains will be next, visit their website at springcreekmodeltrains.com, and to see the entire catalog of signs in N, HO, S, and O scale, head to scalesigns.com. Discover prototypical track and turnouts with the Roadmaster series from Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply. Proudly made in the United States, Oak Hill's handcrafted turnouts provide unparalleled detail and accuracy, giving your layout museum-quality track work at an affordable price. Whether fully built or in easy-to-assemble kit form, Roadmaster provides all the details of real track. Looking for a custom piece of track work? Oak Hill can help with custom turnouts, diamonds, crossings, and more. Check out all of their offerings on their website, ohrtracksupply.com. For over 25 years, Highball Graphics has been providing high-quality decals for railroads in New England, Canada, and beyond. With over 2,000 sets in scales N through G, Highball Graphics has you and your project covered. Highball Graphics specializes in custom decal orders, serving freelance railroads worldwide. Check out their easy-to-use website at highballgraphics.com or email them at info@highballgraphics.com. ATLP Extra is our monthly newsletter delivered right to your inbox each month. Sign up for free at atlpextra.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Around the Layout, where model railroaders come to tell their story. My name is Ray Arnott. So glad you could join us. We're just a few weeks removed from my first trip to the Mid-Atlantic RPM, which was held just outside of Baltimore, Maryland. While I was only able to stay for one day, I was able to get around the event and talk to some pretty amazing folks who were there to share in the modeling and the camaraderie. The following are the conversations I captured. Here we go. All right, we're here at the 2025 Mid-Atlantic RPM and ran into a guy who we're now working with on Around the Layout podcast, providing us the RPM update each month off of the What's Happening in Model Railroading show, Eric Hansman. Eric, good to see you.
Great to be here, Ray. Great to see you, too.
Great to be here at a new RPM to me, but not a new RPM to other folks. This one's been going on for quite some time.
It has been going on for a little while, been in a number of locations, but I think this is the third time it's been in this BWI hotel here. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, Doubletree here just outside of Baltimore, Washington International Airport. And I drove down from Connecticut last night to come here and spend the day with a bunch of model railroading folks, and already some amazing modelers. And you're sitting right next to quite a few of them here. And of course, we've got some names from the podcast that we've seen already. We got Butch Eiler and Tony Sissons and Ted DiIorio and Ralph Heiss, and just a collection of real talented folks in this room.
Yeah, there's some great models here. I see Bernie's kind of run out of some table space as well, so that's always a good thing.
Well, I saw Bernie walking around, and he was scratching his head, and he goes, did we outgrow this place? Like he was kind of muttering under his breath, like thinking about already 2026 and what he's going to do. And then he realized, oh, we got another ballroom over this way, maybe. So there is some room for expansion without having to move, which is a good thing, to be able to have a place that's a home for a while.
Yeah, oftentimes the hotel management likes what they see, and they understand that they want to try to keep this audience and this date and the event in hand too.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it also helps. We know so many RPMs have had to move locations, some for good as they grow and get bigger. Also some that have faced some location challenges, and that's got to be, really tough on an RPM to make sure that they're able to stay in one spot and be consistent.
Yeah, everything's always changing with hotels and things like that. I've been involved with 2 RPMs where the hotel canceled us without telling us, and then in one case the hotel completely disappeared. So we were lucky to find a community college nearby that had some great space for RPM East outside of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's excellent. I mean, we just talked about your contribution to Around the Layout podcast and the What's Happening in Model Railroading, and we love RPMs on the show, and we love talking about them. I'm so glad to have you on, and you've been helping promote RPMs for quite a while with your blog on your website and your calendar and keeping up with them. And now we see a bunch more popping up. It's really an exciting time to see this model expanding.
Yeah, it's kind of a grassroots kind of thing because it's happening in so many locations. They don't necessarily need to be large. I always encourage people to just do a one-day thing and see how your local modeling base handles that and enjoys it and take it from there.
Yeah, that's for sure. We talked about that with Michelle Kempema as well, getting things off the ground. Start simple, start with a one day, start with a small location, maybe start with a local group that's already in formation. That way you don't have to kind of reinvent the wheel. You can kind of just take off from there. But great to see them popping up more local, because I like to travel. I like to go to different places. Wasn't so keen on the New York City traffic last night, but nonetheless, it's always great to see, because you get to see different things. Like now we're in the Mid-Atlantic, maybe a little bit different vibe. You see some more, old chassis system, maybe some roots of the Mid-Atlantic railroading in the mix of things. So always nice to get that local flavor.
Yeah, each RPM does have a different kind of focus, and the local flavor really comes out with the this Mid-Atlantic RPM. There was a whole day yesterday where there must have been a dozen layouts open for visits, and 3 or 4 of them are just spectacular. But every one, I always find something really interesting and great ideas that I take home for my own layout.
Yeah, we say that quite often. There's always a great takeaway from each layout and learning and being able to see it and having those RPMs throughout the country. He said now able to expose layouts that maybe we didn't even hear about, that haven't got the exposure or coverage that most others get.
Yeah, that's right. There's always hidden gems. And a lot of times it's the RPM coordinators who know to bring on, this one guy's layout to have it open. Or have them do a presentation at the RPM, and that opens your eyes to different possibilities and an interesting layout too.
Well, excellent. And while we're standing here, I'm looking at the table, and you have not only some models to the side here, but you also have some brochures and journals as well. And talk about this, because I believe you're here representing the Layout Design SIG, or LD SIG, or the name that it's called, and talk a little bit about that and your role there.
Yeah, I'm vice president of the Layout Design Special Interest Group, and we've been trying to reach out and do more, coordinate more events with RPM meets in order to broaden our scope, in order to help people understand that there's this organization available to them. We've been at the NMRA Nationals for years. I just think it's time for us to branch out to all these RPMs, because it's like a hand-in-glove type of operation here. Everyone who's prototype modeling, they need to understand how stuff can fit in their space, and that's what we're all about with the Layout Design Special Interest Group.
Well, I think that we may get the idea or impression, because it is really a lot about models. There's folks here with rolling stock and locomotives, but it's also modeling and prototype modeling places. And to model the place means you need a layout to put those places on, or even some of these modules. And we got right behind us a beautiful N-scale module, and so well done. And I'm such a huge fan of such a clean finish. And these layouts, including one over to the side, and I'll share a picture of this one on our website at aroundthelayout.com. Usually I don't think clouds work in a picture, but that one does. That is amazing. That gives a really stunning look to that module, and so well done, so clean.
Yeah, he specializes in lighting design too. So this is the Washington and Old Dominion, and he's done a great job of replicating one of the terminals along the line.
Yeah, beautiful job. We'll share again pictures on our website aroundthelayout.com, and we'll get to that. Eric, looking forward to working with you more on the podcast with the RPM updates that you're going to provide us every month, and we love to fill our schedules with awesome events like the RPM, so look forward to getting that report from you.
Great. We'll keep you up to date.
Well, we got to talk to you before the Mid-Atlantic RPM. Now we're at the Mid-Atlantic RPM.
Yay!
So we have arrived and standing next to Bernie Kopinski. Bernie, good to see you again, and good to see you in person.
Yeah, thank you. Same here.
You got quite a showing here at the 2025 Mid-Atlantic RPM. A lot of models out here, a lot of folks. This morning it was really hopping in here.
Well, it's always busy right at the start when everybody gets here and we have to do registration and all that. But then when the clinics happen, it gets quiet. So it's good. We need a break.
Yeah, I bet you do. A little bit of a breather, get some food for yourself and get a little bit of a break. But yeah, a lot of models here on display. And then I'm looking down here. We've got a good, is this S or O scale? I'm looking at it. It almost looks, what is that one?
This is a layout that Tony Custer built for, I think, MR. And Dave Vaughn, who's standing right there, he purchased it. And they modified it with these turntables on the end so they can go point to point. And then they don't really operate it like with a schedule of things. They just kind of run trains back and forth on it.
Well, it's kind of neat. We'd think of RPMs and maybe from the standpoint of models sitting stationary, and we get to walk up and we get to look at them. And there's certainly a beauty to that because I'm seeing behind these tables the folks sitting behind them answering questions, and this is a great place to learn. But it's also cool to be able to come over here and watch them in action as well.
Right. And then over here we have John Dry's layout. He's been working on this in HO scale. And today he's doing basically scenery, so it's kind of like a scenery clinic. And then behind me we have Scott, who brought an N-scale layout. I don't think it's operating. I don't think he's running that one. No, he could, but he's not.
I think he was, but he's answering so many questions and talking. Yeah. I don't think it is running right now, but I think it does have running capability.
Well, do you notice he's got these lights? He's really he's a theater lighting guy, and last year he did a clinic on like how you could do storms and stuff in your railroad. I think he's doing another clinic this year too, but it's more like prototype based this year.
Well, that's awesome. So not only you're getting the locomotives and the rolling stock, but you're also getting scenery. You get the whole gamut here at the Mid-Atlantic RPM.
Yes, that's exactly right. One of the things we pride ourselves, and I said it when we talked earlier, was that we get a good selection of clinicians here. We got some top guys like Andy Dodge. We usually get Lance, he's not here this year, and other really good modelers that put on stuff and show their work.
Yeah, we had fun, sat in the Tony Sissons, where he took a B40 and turned it into, I think it was a B32 is what he turned it into, and then how he built a coal hopper as well and did that all from scratch, and a lot of laughs and a lot of learning in that one. Is a great clinic.
Just amazing, tiny details that he puts on his work. It is amazing.
So a lot to learn, a lot of people, gathering and seeing each other for the first time in a long time. We talked about that. It really becomes the friend reunion as well.
Jim DeForest from Massachusetts, he comes down. Actually, if we get any bigger, we may have to, we can make the ballroom bigger over there. We have another expansion, so we may have to do that next year.
I remember it was earlier this morning, I walked by you and you were saying that. You're looking around, and as you're trying to figure things out and as everybody are coming in, you're like, we might have to tack onto this a little bit more.
This hotel has one more breakout room, so we could still do 3 clinics and utilize the full ballroom as a display. Right now the ballroom is 2/3 display, 1/3 clinic. But that clinic room is kind of not optimum because it's just half of it's not used, kind of, because there's chairs in there. So maybe we'll do that next year. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see for 2026, but for 2025, again, a lot of folks coming down and fairly easy to get to. I mean, I had to fight that New York City traffic yesterday and coming down, but you got a little bit of Washington, but nice area around here. We were able to just go around the corner, grab some lunch, come back, and get back into diving into bottles and getting into some of the clinics. And you got a big giveaway table, and then not only do you have all the clinics and some hands-on clinics, then you have a vendor where you learn it and then go buy it, and you can basically go home with the knowledge and the materials.
We also had a bunch of open houses yesterday, which I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from people that really enjoyed that part of the MARPM. So you can stay at the hotel, but nothing's going on at the hotel. You just go to open houses. So that apparently other ones don't do that, I guess, but we make that one of our calling cards.
Well, again, that's so important because there's so much to be taken away by doing layout visits. Positives, negatives, the whole 9 yards, figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and to have that opportunity where people open up their homes and open up their layouts for people to come see, that's a really great learning tool.
And free snacks.
And free snacks. Perfect. Well, Bernie, I'll let you get back to it. It's a
sir.
busy day for you, but thank you.
Down.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming over here and chatting with me for a few moments during your busy 2025 MARPM.
All right, great, thank you.
Well, some great representation of N-Scale here at the 2025 Mid-Atlantic RPM. And we're joined here by a guy who has built a beautiful module here that he has brought to display. Scott Wall. Scott, glad to be able to talk to you about this.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit about this. And I already taken some pictures, and we're going to share them on our website at aroundthelayout.com/188. But tell us what you have here and try to explain it.
Well, the Washington Old Dominion Railroad used to have a small switching yard that was right down in Roslyn, which was literally across from Georgetown in Washington, D.C. And they would switch about 20 cars in and out of there a day. And so I've replicated that as closely as I can.
Awesome. Beautiful stuff. And I'm a huge fan of finish. And you clearly understand that concept of the presentation. This is just beautiful. Not only the scenery work, the backdrop, but even just how this is all done, all wood stained, and just a great presentation here.
Yeah, I think that one of the toughest things about model building is that you can be really good at, you'd be really good at just doing engines or really good at just doing scenery. Everybody kind of has their specialty. So I've tried to not let any one little area go. So like between the backdrop, the lighting, and then the scenery and the track work, I won't really try to focus on each individual thing and not slack on any one area.
So one thing that I said, and I was looking over here at this, and typically, at least in my opinion, a lot of folks take and they cut their skies out of photo backdrops, but this one works. This is so amazing. And then I was standing over and I was talking to another gentleman, and I looked over and I said, it's changing. You got a whole lighting thing going on here. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I actually have a professional lighting and sound background. And so I actually did a clinic last year where we talked about lighting design and how we've taken professional lighting design and then applied that to model railroading. And so just little things, but basically there's 4 and LEDs have now gotten really cheap, right? So it's easy to use those. But one design element that comes from the professional world, for example, like when you go to a theater, you'll have tormentors that hide the lighting electrics that are over the stage, right? So you're not really paying attention to the lighting, you're paying attention to what's on the stage. This is very similar, where there's like little strips of wood that hide each strip of LED, and then there's 4 rows of LEDs, the same way you'd have, rows of electrics over top of your stage, which then allow me to be able to combine or use those to be able to make the sky one color and the ground a different color. And the real way that this is set up is so you can go from nighttime to daytime, right? So it makes that nice, soft, warm color in the morning, and then goes out to 5,000 degrees Kelvin in the afternoon, and then goes all the way back down into the evening and then into night. So it just makes a nice gradual change.
Absolutely. And we're talking a module that looks like about 8 feet long.
Yep.
And about how deep is this?
14 inches. So it's actually pretty shallow.
Is this built on T-Track, or is it similar to?
It's close. So I'm using the T-Track ends, but what I'm basically doing is I'm yanking out the code 80 rail that's in the T-Track, and I'm stuffing code 55 in the end. And then I'm just really using the ends to be able to snap stuff together. So I find that I like the convenience of being able to snap the ends together.
And we're going to walk down this a little bit. So we just walked by the 8-foot bench part, and now he's got an addition to this that, again, he mentioned, attached by Unitrack. And then down here, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so Roslyn was kind of a dead end, right? So you'd come out of Potomac Yard, you go down to Bluemont Junction, And then Bluemont Junction, you would switch your freight, and then freight would then make itself from Bluemont Junction down about 4 or 5 miles down into Roslyn. And so the next logical area for me to model was Bluemont Junction. And it basically split that 3 ways. It would go out towards the Blue Ridge, in towards Potomac Yard, or down towards Roslyn.
Incredible here, and you got this kind of raised up. It kind of comes up and then back down through this junction. You've got on the wall, you've got the blueprints of this area, so you're showing what you're modeling here. How close to scale is that?
100%. It's exactly what the blueprints are.
I would say that's the beauty of N-scale, isn't it, that you're able to pull that off?
Yeah, I actually was just mentioning to a friend, Ed, recently, and I was showing him pictures, and he said, man, you can really tell that it's exactly the way that it was based on the scale.
Yeah, that's quite a compliment when you get that acknowledgement that it's looking exactly like it, and that's really cool. And right now it's just black, and but I'm sure there'll be scenery on this coming very soon.
Yeah, so the goal for the show was just to get the bench work done. All the turnouts are hand built, so each turnout takes me about 2.5 hours. So there's like 20 some hours of just building 9 turnouts. But get the bench work done, get the topography right, because the spur that goes to Roslyn did rise up like that, and just make sure that everything is really running well, which it is, and then the next step will obviously be scenery.
As we're moving from right to left, I'm looking back to the right, and it's already getting dark outside, and the lighting is changing, which is just such a cool effect over on the your 8-foot long module over here.
Yeah, it's. I think it adds an extra element of theatrics to the scene, which I think just makes it look cool.
Well, I think Scott Thornton is very happy to hear this. We've talked to him on the podcast about layouts as a theatrical thing, and you've got that background, and you're bringing that exact theory to what you're modeling here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I'm doing.
All right, let's take one more step or two back down to the left, and then we got this smaller module here, and some beautiful scenery on that. Talk to us about that. And I see some above rail wiring here too.
Yeah, so when I decided that I always knew I wanted to model the Washington Old Dominion Railroad, but I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to do it. And I started with Bethlehem Steel, and I did that all in Pico Code 80 track. And it's a beautiful, I have 12 feet of that, and that's a beautiful module. But I realized when I wanted to do something more prototypical that, Code 80 didn't look right. And so I wanted to do Code 55. But I did a lot of testing. I wasn't sure what track to use, what turnout to use, what direction I was going to go. So this was the first module I built with Code 55. And this was really more of a test than anything else. I wanted to be able to hook this up, do a loop around the back, run trains across Code 55, see what it was like. And so that's really what this is. So that's, in the real world, this didn't exist, this spur didn't exist in front of the Vienna station. But I wanted to be able to do one turnout, just so I could test it and see what it was like. And that was the Atlas turnout. And I ultimately decided that hand building using the Fast Tracks jig worked better for me and ran smoother than some of the other options that were available to me out there. So,
how long have you been an N-scaler?
About 30 years, I guess.
Have you always done N-scale, or did you move from a scale to N?
I've always done N. I've just never had much more room than N-scale.
So is that why you became an N-scaler? Was it about the room? Was that what attracted you to it?
It's, to be honest with you, it's so long ago. I don't remember why I chose, but it served me well just because I've had limited room over the years.
30 years of N-scale, you must have seen quite a bit of change in N-scale, because I know I've seen so much advance in N-scale. Talk about some of those advancements and how you've been able to enjoy that.
Well, I mean, I think that the one that probably everybody already mentions is the sound decoders are just amazing. I mean, the Atlas just came out with a GP9 with a sound decoder in it, and just the wheel squeal and the ramping of the engine. I mean, it runs so smoothly, and it coordinates with the sound decoder so well. I think that adds an extra level of enjoyment to the hobby. So. Yeah,
it definitely is. The technology gets tighter and tighter, and the ability to bring that it definitely has shown in N-Scale, and availability seems to be coming up. And N-Scale well represented here too, not only with your stuff. I saw a bunch of N-Scale stuff for sale, not only from Bernie Kopinski's collection, but also our vendor here at A&S Trains is over here. So they're selling products. So yeah, N-Scale well represented at the 2025 Mid-Atlantic RPM, and especially with your module here.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, Bernie's a inspiration, right? Like, I actually brought a magazine for him to sign that's 29 years old, of a big C&O layout that he built, 30 years ago. And we've talked about how far things have come since that module. But yeah, he's built some amazing things, and I think back then you had to struggle a little bit more because there wasn't as much available. Still not as much as like HO, but what is available is still so much more than what was available 30 years ago.
Yeah, definitely a huge advancement, and what you're bringing here, a whole new aspect to it. Again, that theatrical approach to modeling that you're doing here, Scott. Amazing work. Share all the images. I'll take a bunch of photos and share them on our website, aroundthelayout.com/188. Scott, thank you so much for taking some time with me here at the 2025 Mid-Atlantic RPM.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
When I see anything that's Susquehanna, I gotta stop and ask. And we're sitting next to Jeremy Zablocki, and we're gonna talk about his models here, including the Suzy Q and a bunch more. Jeremy, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
How's it going? So I'm Jeremy Zablocki. I'm originally from a somewhat of a small town in Bergen County, New Jersey. It's called Dumont, New Jersey. The Susquehanna, it's not too far away from where I'm from. Its Southern Division offices are located in Richfield Park, New Jersey, which is about 20-25 minutes away from where I'm from. My first original love when it came to modeling, honestly, was CSX, as CSX's river line runs through my town. As I started to get a little bit older, took a little bit of a break from modeling, and then got back into it, I'm like, you know what, I want to do something a little more unique. A lot of people, they'll do different Class 1 railroads, CSX, NS, even older stuff, Conrail, etc. But short lines are what's truly unique, I feel like, when it comes to model railroading. So when I got back into it, I said, you know what, yeah, I'm going to do the New York Susquehanna and Western. From its abundance of EMD power, even some Alcos that I'll be working on, and its slick black and yellow paint scheme, I feel it was definitely an attractive railroad to start modeling. So I've started to put tons of work, tons of hours into different models, including starting to do some custom painting. I custom painted here a Walters Proto SW9 that I turned into Susquehanna 120. Put plenty of hours into that, making it all customized, as well as this ST60 over here from Afton that I started with an undecorated model, and then painted, weather installed, sound, lights, all that good jazz. So model railroading has definitely become a nice therapy session for me, something I enjoy doing, something I enjoy when I get home from work. Well, I could spend some time working on some models, watching a ball game, and just enjoy it while I'm doing it.
Yeah, for sure. And, with the weathering work that you're doing, this is quite amazing. And how long have you been weathering locomotives for? So
I first started very basic weathering when I was honestly like 7 or 8 years old. I was telling my dad, let's bust out the airbrush. We'll do a little basic weathering. And it started from there. I can't thank my dad enough for getting into this wonderful hobby. He's a very accomplished modeler himself. His name is Vincent Zablocki. Does Conrail. But as I've got back into the hobby, watching different YouTube videos, different Facebook posts, articles, starting to transition to be able to use fine brushes, doing different washes and stuff to really make models pop. And we'll just keep going from there, improving my techniques, and as usual, just learning.
I'm kind of scratching my head about you saying that you're improving, because what you have out here is quite amazing, and these are some beautiful models, but it's always a constant improving process, isn't it?
It is. As you can see, like a few tables down, we have Mr. Butch over there with his freight cars. Like those are some of the they might be the best weathered cars I've ever seen in my life. Like, that's just true arts and crafts right there. One day I hope that I could achieve that level of talent, but one day at a time and just keep improving in the hobby.
Well, I think it's you kind of measure yourself, and I think you've got some really great models here as well. And I'm sure even Butch would come over and say that you've done some great work here. But you're always looking to achieve a little bit more, heading more towards the realism. And then you talk to Butch, and he's got a guy that he thinks is. It's always like this, everybody admires each other's work, and it's always neat when they can come over and admire your work, and and that's part of the magic of the RPM, of being able to information share and share your progress and learn from each other.
Oh, indeed. And then one thing I also just want to stress that I feel some people in the hobby, they always look at those like as a competition, whatever. Man, you just gotta enjoy yourself and just zone in on your craft and just take pride in what you do. I feel if you can ask anybody, they'll always be like, oh, there's something I would have done different. There's something I could have improved on the model. And some people, they get a little overwhelmed, a little stressed out. Man, you just enjoy what you do, and no matter what skill set, no matter what level you're at, just enjoy it.
Isn't it nice that you don't have to worry about the judges coming around to take a look at your models and trying to weigh them against other people?
Oh, for sure, man. It's just, like I said, for me, model railroading is kind of like therapy. It's just something that you could kind of use to escape from the outside world. Whatever issues you got going on, your personal life, whatever, you have a nice hobby here, and then just use it as kind of an escape and enjoy yourself and make something worth doing.
We're going to share pictures of these models on our website, aroundthelayout.com/188, but I want you to talk through this roster, especially the Susquehanna roster. Talk about the locomotives that you're representing here.
Sure. So we're going to start towards the edge of the table where my name is written on the white piece of paper. So first I have this Athearn Genesis F45. Susquehanna had two F45s, 3636 and 3638. They purchased them in the late 1980s from the Burlington Northern Railroad. And back in the late 80s, the Susquehanna kind of went through a rebirth led by Walter Rich. They were able to secure a intermodal service deal partnered with Sealand, and Susquehanna really didn't have much power that they could use for these trains. So they were able to purchase from Burlington Northern a bunch of SD45s and F45s to help haul these freights. So 3636, that's an Athearn Genesis model. I kind of aim to model this one in its later years of service on the Susquehanna, so in the early 2000s. This F45, it's pretty unique. I installed dish lights on it. I haven't seen many people who have done that to this F45, but it's got the ditch lights, it's got the Nathan horn, pretty much a bunch of different details that I added to make it more unique from its earlier phase when it was modeled in the 80s. So then to the left, I have an Atlas GP40. This was the first model that I really kind of started doing some heavy surgery work to. I had to change out the fuel tank. That one I took from a Athearn model, as well as change the inertial air filters. I had to carve that out, replace it with a Cannon & Company part that was similar to what's seen on GP35s. I'm really proud of the weathering job I did on the roof on this one. It's really my first time, using different washes and try to get a nice, unique chipping effect that's seen on the model today. So that's GP40 3040.
I know where there's a brand new Susquehanna 3040. That's looking really worn out. So I'll tell you what, I'll just trade you for a brand new one if you want. I'll just take that one and you can have the brand new one. It'll look brand new, shiny and everything. Can we trade, Jeremy?
To be quite honest, I like my locomotives looking a little ratty and with some character,
Well, that one definitely has a lot of character. That has a lot of realism to it. It's a great looking model. All right, let's talk about what's next on your Susquehanna roster here.
So here's the second of the F45s. This is 3638. Unfortunately, this one didn't make it as long as 3636. Sometime in the early 1990s, it was sold to the Montana Rail Link Railroad. For this model, it was a little bit easier as I didn't have to install ditch lights and what. But what I did do was I painted the nose, the top of the nose, I guess the anti-glare. It's kind of like a BN green that they had painted on those models. So I made sure to reflect it on this one, as well as some other simple details like air lines for the brakes, some air filters on the engineer side, as well as plating out the windows. So it's only 2 windows on the conductor and engineer side. So that was a nice little model. This is another one that I'm really proud of. This is SW9 number 120. This was a pretty neat locomotive in real life. Originally started out with the C&O and went through the Baltimore, Ohio as well. It was in service out on Staten Island. Yes, the Susquehanna used to serve Staten Island back in the 80s. So this was a quote-unquote a little bit of a pup. I did a lot of neat work to this. I stripped it. I added KV models, his etched grills, as well as some spark arresters from that was Detail Associates. I had a custom made a horn from a custom finishing models horn kit. That was pretty fun. But yeah, I gave this one a nifty little paint job and weathered it to its later years in service back in the late 90s before it was sold to it's either a Shoreline or some kind of company. So that was a fun project. Next we go on to this SD60. This was the first locomotive that I actually really custom painted. The SD60s, they were pretty unique in Susquehanna. They had 6 of them, starting with 3800, making their way up to 3812. So this locomotive was in service on the Susquehanna from about 2012 sometime to I believe it was 2018. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure this locomotive was involved in a wreck in upstate New York, so it no longer exists. But this is the class leader, the ST60s that Susquehanna had on their road freights, SU-99 and SU-100. These things, they were just racking up miles, going back and forth between Richfield Park, New Jersey, up to Binghamton, and then even up into Syracuse, New York. So this was an after and ready-to-roll model that I started off as a undecorated unit. I added all the details. I love the winterization hatches on these things, something that was very unique to some of these SD60s. You know, like I said, custom painted using Tamiya paints. Added all the different sunshades, MU hoses, antennas, you name it, it's on there. And then next on the list is the tunnel motor. We got a 3010. This was the first Susquehanna locomotive that I detailed back in 2022. It's an after model, ready to roll. Like I said, I got working dish lights on the front and rear, some other unique details, some different air filters, stuff like that. I'm pretty proud to see this was like the first locomotive, like I said, for Susquehanna that I detailed, and then just to be able to see how my work is kind of improving from that when I started that one to the latest one that I completed, which was the 3040. I mentioned before my first love was CSX, so we have this SD40-2 made from Athearn, 8044, another locomotive that I heavy customized. Got the unique, I guess it would be Seaboard style ditch lights down on the front. They were made by Custom Finishing Models, part number 294. I've been seeing a lot of people in the model community now, especially CSX. They're starting to really improve on the Athearn SD40-2s. And it brings a little bit of a tear to my eye to see everybody work on these things. And so yeah, this is another unique model. Added like the different brake chain, the bell that's mounted to the I guess the high hood, if you want to call it, in front of the radiator fans. Gave it a nice little weathering job. She has a pretty ratty looking roof. I filed away the I guess the battery mailbox slots. That was kind of unique to like chassis style locomotives. So that was a pretty neat detail that I added. Like I said, it's got all the ditch lights, lift rings, everything is there that needs to be too. Now these 2 green locomotives, I guess these also, I would be very proud of these locomotives. These were the first ever locomotives I'd done when I was 16 years old. These are I guess, original after and ready-to-roll models. And those original after and ready-to-roll models, they were pretty much just blue box models with a new box added to them. So this is the New York and Atlantic Railway. They're a short line, or maybe regional railroad, out on Long Island. These locomotives are Long Island Railroad GP38-2s. I added the K5 LA horns. I guess it's come kind of like signal box out of styrene. Honestly, if I'm gonna be quite honest with you guys, I'm not a railroader. I'm not sure when it comes to all these different parts, they have proper names and stuff like that. I just enjoy modeling and doing that. So please forgive me if I get some of the part names wrong. I want to talk about especially number 261. We added the proper working marker lights to the front and back, as well as the ditch lights front and back. It's a very cool model in operation when I have it fired up. So in 271, that was a kind of like a 911 tribute locomotive that they had painted. Same thing. I got the working ditch lights, working marking lights. It's a blue box model on steroids. And then lastly, we got these two locomotives over here. We have a CSX 8886. This is a ex-Erie Lackawanna, ex-Conrail SD45-2, as you can see by the unique fuel tank that they had to haul the amount of fuel that the Erie Lackawanna used for these things. This is a Afton Genesis model. I added the plow MU hoses, the ditch lights, like a cab signal box on the engineer side, as well as different antennas, so forth on the roof. I also got the low profile Leslie horn that was unique to these models on the roof of the cab. And lastly, this is a ex-RF&P Atlas CSX locomotive that I customized. Like I say, it started as an RF&P model. I simply did this model out of spite. My good friend is over here, Mr. Craig Harrison. He's a big RF&P guy. I love to get on his nerves, so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do this RF&P patch job and really stick it to him. So I said I completely took out the RF&P lettering, put on some CSX decals on there. Some unique details that the RF&P had. They had two different horns, one on the front and one on the rear. Some other details I used out of styrene, and this came out very nice. It's a very nice patch job, so I'm very proud of the fleet that I brought to here. Already looking forward to maybe next year's show and some of the models I've been working on that I'll be bringing for that one.
Oh, that'll be awesome. We get to see that next year at the 2026 Mid-Atlantic RPM. You mentioned the last two locomotives you mentioned are, ex-Conrail and then ex-RF&P, and kind of in spite of two, one of your dad and one of your buddy there, because that's an ex-Conrail unit, and your dad, mentioned your dad models Conrail as well, right?
Yes, indeed. Even though Conrail, I have a love for Conrail. I wouldn't say like my dad doesn't get as agitated as Mr. Harrison over there, so that's why I made sure to make an emphasis on this RF&P unit.
I know this is like asking a father who their favorite child is, but do you have a favorite locomotive out of your roster?
Ooh, that's a good question to answer. Well, I'll throw out two. I'll say the New York and Atlantic 261, as that's the first ever locomotive that I detailed, and then the Susquehanna SD60 3800, as that's the first locomotive that I painted. So it's a toss-up between those two.
Between modeling the New York and Atlantic 261 and weathering that and where you are now, what is the biggest thing that you've learned in that time?
Well, that's a very good question. Man, you really got me stumped here. I would say just being patient. Especially, as I've grown older, obviously I'll, have less time to work on models. Just being patient with the work. It'll get completed. No need to rush it. No need to try to finish it up in 1 week, man. Just a little bit at a time, a little bit at a day. Especially when it comes to painting. Let the paint dry. Give it a clear coat, especially with the decals. Just take your time. And at the end of the day, the patience that you show, it will be reflected in the work that you made.
Well, I think that's some sound advice, and just kind of the information and all the type of advice that gets passed around here at the 2025 Mid-Atlantic RPM. Jeremy, thank you so much for taking the time to go through your roster. We'll share those photos on our website, aroundthelayout.com/188, and be able to share them with the rest of the world.
Thank you. Just want to say two things. One, if you guys are on Facebook, check out the HJ&J Railroad. I post me and my father's locomotive projects on there. Also post our layout on there, different stuff that we have got going on. It's all fun. And last thing I want to say is just go Navy, beat Army. Thank you.
Well, standing here with two show attendees here at the 2025 Mid-Atlantic RPM, we've got Todd Herman. Todd, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks, Ray. Good to see you as well.
And we got Jim DeFore. Jim, good to see you.
Good to see you.
So, Jim, let's start with you. Tell us what brings you to the Mid-Atlantic RPM.
Well, I've been here before and always enjoyed myself. And in RPMs in general, I generally come for the community, guys like Todd. Operated on his layout yesterday, otherwise I might not have gotten down here and for that. And basically the education I get when I come to these things, the clinics and the displays, chatting about the methods, the techniques, the materials, the histories. It's all interesting to me.
Well, that's great. You'll be able to connect with folks like you mentioned, Todd. And Todd, Jim operated on your layout. How did he do?
He did well. He's a pro. Jim knows what he's doing. It's always fun to. I've operated on his railroad as well, so we've got a good back and forth going. But I think we have similar approach and similar kind of philosophy about how we like to operate, which is always fun to share that and share some experience together. But for me, this is my local RPM. Living in Virginia, this is where I think this meet started in Virginia and then migrated up here. For a while, it kept moving farther and farther away from my house. It kept moving further and further north. But this BWI location they have is great. You can fly in if you need to. For me, it's just a short drive, a little bit further for some folks. But I would agree with what Jim said about what's great about it. What's great about all RPMs, definitely.
Well, awesome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your layout?
Yeah, sure. So I model primarily the Lehigh New England Railroad in the mid-'50s, specifically in a spot called Catasauqua, Pennsylvania, which is just north of Allentown, larger city that most people might have heard of. And I model a branch of Lehigh New England that was kind of a gateway for their interchange with the Reading Railroad and the Lehigh Valley Railroad. And also touched the CNJ, a little short line called the Ironton. It even crosses a streetcar line in the town of Catasauqua. So it's like all these different railroads in one small spot in a very small and kind of condensed location that just has always been really attractive to me, but it was highly modelgenic too. You can do a lot of stuff in literally like a mile or two of actual prototype. So I like that aspect of it. It's a lot going on in a small space. All of the prototypes are ones I'm a fan of. I'm a big fan of the anthracite roads. So for me, it was just kind of the perfect convergence. The layout itself is, it's in my basement in my house. My house is a little older, so fitting it into the space is a challenge. I'm over 6'2", so I got to duck in a few spots to make it work. But it kind of wraps around and in and around the rooms of my basement. About 16 by 24 is the main room. So it's not small, but it's not a giant layout either. But for me, it's the right size because I primarily build it, pretty much single-handedly, HO scale. I don't know what else to say about it at this point, but I've been having a ton of fun with it. I'm about 10 years into the build, and starting to look like something, which is good.
Oh, that's awesome. And Jim, we mentioned you operated on it. We asked him how you did as an operator. How did he do as an operating host?
He's the best. I mean, they had coffee ready for me when I got there. What more could I ask for? And Todd's being modest. It's a great layout. It's a lot of fun to operate. It weaves in and out of his basement, and he's made use of that to make it. It's kind of an adventure. You follow your train around the room, and it seems like you're going from scene to scene as you go, and it's enhanced by the fact that you kind of leave where you are and go to another room. He's doing a great job. I always enjoy visiting and had a good time.
Now, yesterday you were an operator, but in the regular time you're a layout owner. Tell us about your layout.
From New England, Massachusetts. I model a piece of the B&M, a slice of the Cheshire branch. I ran through southwestern New Hampshire, and I didn't have room for an empire, but I picked 5 consecutive smaller stations and just go around a full loop around my basement, 5 stations, a little bit of switching, a little bit of running, and having a good time with it.
Well, awesome. And then Jim got to operate on Todd. Todd, you've operated on Jim's layout as well.
Yeah, I was up at the New England meet earlier this year. Had a chance to operate then, and I think one other time too, but this was the most formal op session we did. Again, we have similar approaches with, we're switch list based, not super into the cards and the waybills and stuff, so it's you have the list and you go to work. Jim had all of that stuff ready for us. It was all prepped, some good scenarios. It's the scenery on Jim's layout is the best. It's I can't think of anything better out there in terms of what other people are doing. So that adds to the experience. But what I like about it is the pace of it. You're not. It's believable. It's plausible. You're not asked to do too much. You're not getting into a town and having to move every industry. It feels right for the locations, the town, the balance of activity, and it performs flawlessly. There's no issues with equipment or derailments, the sound systems. He's got some guys working on some great semaphore systems for him that I'm really excited about too. So all sorts of stuff about Jim's layout that I really love.
Now, Jim, you're a New Englander like I am.
Yep.
He's from Virginia. How'd you get to meet him?
Was it NARPM?
I think we met at Valley Forge. I think we met at Malvern, and I think it was related to our shared interest in railroads of Nova Scotia, of all things. Yeah. Because Jim spent a lot of time up there in the 80s, I guess, right? I'll let you tell it. I'm going to tell the story, but...
That's right. He's wearing a T-shirt from one of my favorite lines up there, which became part of the Canadian National. But my main interest in Nova Scotia was the Dominion Atlantic. I went up there a few times over a couple of years just before it passed from the scene, let's say. But just loved it up there. Beautiful scenery, friendly people, and very, very interesting railroading.
So met at an RPM, and now you guys are going to be lifelong friends now over model railroading. It's one of the amazing things that happen at these RPMs. And again, we think when an RPM on the surface, it's models and it's maybe some weathering techniques, and you've got a little bit of history being told, but there's so much more to it, including these amazing operating sessions that you participated in, and then, of course, the camaraderie and being able to meet new people like you were able to do, Todd.
Yeah, no question about it. The Nova Scotia thing, I vacationed up there for my whole life. Jim always talks about modeling what he missed. Well, that's the railroad up there that I didn't get to see, and he saw it. So that was kind of our point of connection. But made a point of seeking Jim out when we first met to just thank him for making those photos available for us to see. And it's, as you said, it's just gone from there. And then as you meet people in these things, the network just grows. You just keep meeting. It's just layer upon layer of great people, and that's the one. To your point, Ray, the across the board, everybody is just so friendly and welcoming. It's just a great community.
They talk about 7 degrees of separation, but I think it's far less in model railroading, isn't it, Jim?
Yeah, amen to that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many neat people that you can meet in the hobby and be able to connect and reconnect with, and maybe you haven't seen them since the last RPM, and you guys now connected for life. Amazing things that happen with these RPMs. Tell us what you got on display over there, Jim.
I brought a selection of freight cars. I modeled 1947, 1948, so all of these cars would have existed in that time frame. Mostly resin kits, some kit bashed out of plastic kits that I've reworked, adding the correct details. And one of my favorite things to do is get it to the point where you can weather it up and make it look a little bit closer to what it might have looked like in reality rather than a shiny plastic model. And I have found that just by doing that, even with an out-of-the-box plastic model, you can suddenly create something that looks more correct on your layout. And when you have a string of them in a freight train rather, it just does something for me to see those cars banging along the right of way.
Well, very, very cool. And Todd, what do you have on display?
Nothing. It was all I could do this time around just to get the layout ready for visitors. It was open. We just had a little informal session, but it was also open for show attendees. So we had about 35 people pass through yesterday. Like I said, I live far south of here, so we got a lot of folks coming up from the north on their way to the meet here in Baltimore. But I toyed with the idea of bringing in some structures. Didn't do that this time, and there's a bunch of freight car projects sitting on my workbench, but nothing made the journey with me this time around. So that's a foul in the RPM world. I should have brought at least one model. I always encourage people to do that. I didn't do it this time, but next time around.
Jim, next time when you're over there operating before the RPM, start putting some stuff in your pocket so he'll have something to display.
He's an excellent structure modeler. That's one of the nicest features, I think, of Todd's layout. And I would recommend people go on his Flickr page, because you not only see the models when they're finished in some cases, he's very careful to show you the steps in the creation of the models. You get a really good idea of how he's going about doing it. And I appreciate the fact that he shares that with everybody on his Flickr page.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, we'll share a link to that Flickr page on our website, aroundthelayout.com/188. Todd, Jim, thank you both so much for coming over here and spending a little bit of time with me. We had a little bit of a lull here. Looks like a bunch of clinics are going on, so the room emptied out, but I appreciate you guys taking a little time to come over and chat.
Oh, happy to do it. Love the show. Thanks.
Nice talking to you, Ray, and thanks so much for the podcast. It's a great part of the community.
Well, I don't think it would be an RPM without running into the incomparable Butch Eiler. Butch, good to see you.
Well, thanks, Ray. Good to see you.
How many RPMs have you attended in the last, let's just say, calendar year? Because it seems like you just seem to hit all of them, and you're like a regular face at them.
Probably 10, 12, maybe.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we're going to add to that because you're going to Colorado. We're going to be at the Colorado Rail Proto Meet, and that's going to be a great time out there in Greeley. And you went out there last year too, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, went out. Great time.
Awesome.
Michelle puts on a good show.
Yeah, Michelle's doing a great job with that RPM. And you know what? What's cool that you're doing here? I mean, not only are you attending and you're here at these RPMs, but you're sharing the knowledge, and you're a phenomenal modeling, weathering guy, and I love to see your stuff. But you're over there showing people how to do it as well. There's just something really awesome about RPMs and the model that's been built here.
Yeah, I love sitting down, showing people how to do. I mainly use gouache. I love showing people how to work it. It's a different medium to work with. People love to sit there and try and do it.
What's the reaction when people start to do this? They would go by and, at first some may be, blown away by your work and, that mentality of I can't do this. But when you get their paintbrush in their hand, what's the reaction that you get?
Well, a lot of them are amazed that, it's easy to, it takes a little bit of practice, but it's a little easy, to use. They're amazed that, you can wipe it off, it's something, quick to use. It dries real quick. But they're just amazing at the results you can get.
I know one of the things that I do, I have that fear of failure, and taking a model out and ruining it. But it looks like you have some techniques there that really help the beginner get going. And if there is a mistake, they can reverse back from it a bit.
Right. If you don't like what you did, you take a damp paper towel and wipe it off. You can put it on a month later. Take the gouache off. I have to say it's gouache, Gouache. Everybody thinks I'm saying wash.
Well, I wasn't sure exactly what you were saying. I thought you were, gouache, wash, yeah, but gouache, that's pretty neat. So tell us what gouache is exactly.
It's a watercolor with more pigment in it than regular watercolor.
And where would one find gouache?
I usually look for mom and pop stores. Back in Hagerstown, Maryland, there's a mom and pop store, and they have all different colors. Hobby Lobby has just your basic colors: red, blue, white, black. But I usually use burnt umber, like the different colors of orange. I mean, you can use them. You can use other colors too. Hobby Lobby, Michaels has them. Dick Blick, you can order through Dick Blick and get. There's different brands of them.
Well, awesome. It's always good to know and get the knowledge, but nothing like being able to sit across the table from you and be able to see it and get that one-on-one coaching, and that's just builds that comfort level for a lot of modelers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really enjoy it. When we were in St. Louis, people were sitting down, and a lot of them are amazed that they could do what they did with the gouache.
Well, that's awesome. So we learned a new word today. We learned the word gouache. More learning done from Butch Eiler here. And always love walking over and seeing your models and what you've done next. And again, the faces of people who are sitting down and getting that comfort level and being able to try to emulate what's being done and be able to take the prototype and what they see out there and then bring it to their models.
I used to belong to a club, and one guy said to me, "It's hideous what you do to your cars," as he was getting his shiny car out and put on the layout. And I was like, this is what they look like, you know. They're not shiny, the wheels aren't shiny. So just love doing this stuff.
Yeah, it certainly brings the realism home, and yeah, when you are able to go trackside and then go to a layout and see well-weathered equipment running on a layout and what you've been able to do with your equipment, it's certainly inspiring, and it's awesome that you're able to come to an RPM and go to RPMs all over and be able to share it with modelers really around the country.
It's just a fun time. Yeah, it's incredible people you meet too. I mean, it's just, you know, you used to see people in magazines, and you come to these shows and you meet them. You know, it's really like inspiring to see all this stuff.
Would you call this your hometown RPM, or would you call Valley Forge more because you're from kind of near the area?
This is closer. This is only an hour away. Valley Forge is almost 2 hours.
So hometown RPM, the Mid-Atlantic RPM, Butch, a guy who travels a lot to go see him. We saw him in St. Louis. We'll see him in Colorado and many more. New England RPM, we saw you, or Northeast RPM, or whatever they're calling it this week. And I think it's Northeast, right?
What's that? Which one's this coming week?
No, the Northeast RPM.
Oh, that's NERPM.
Yeah, no, I said what do they call it? NERPM.
Yeah, NERPM.
Yeah, NERPM. NERPM's an easy way to remember that one.
NERPM,
yeah, so whether you see them in St. Louis or NERPM or the Mid-Atlantic RPM or Colorado or anywhere in between, it's always great to run into Butch Eiler and see his modeling. Butch will let you get back to the table and help some folks learn a little bit more about weathering.
Okay, thanks, Ray. Good seeing you.
So last week I attended the New Haven Railroad Historical and Technical Association National Convention, and I failed to get a sticker. So I drove all the way to Baltimore and chased down Chris Adams so I could get the sticker, and I have one in hand. So Chris, thank you for bringing my sticker down here to Baltimore.
Oh, you're very welcome. It didn't take up much space in the car, and so I had plenty of room to bring all the stickers, and I've been handing them out like candy all week.
And you know, I drove right by your house. You could have probably just left it on the porch, but you know, I had to come down to Baltimore, and hey, while we're here, we'll might as well hang out at the Mid-Atlantic RPM and check this out as well.
It seems to be the thing to do in the Baltimore area this time of year. Haven't been here in about 6 years myself, and it's really nice to get together with everybody again after all this time and see some familiar faces and make some new friends.
A 6-year absence, what brought you back?
Bill Schneider. He drove, and so I came down with him. But yeah, it was. It didn't happen during the COVID years a couple times, and then it gets a little busy. Last year I planned on coming down, and it didn't work out with the schedule, so I was far overdue and figured it was high time to get back down here.
Well, this is my very first time here. I've heard about the Mid-Atlantic RPM, and I am not disappointed at all. This has been a great show. A lot of folks filtering in and out of the room, a lot of well-attended clinics. It's just been a very well-done operation here.
Yeah, Bernie and his team really do put together a great event, and it's funny because he's one of those guys, I think he must keep expectations low. Last night he was saying, oh, you know, if we get 100, 150 people, that's what pre-reg is. I don't know how it's really going to do. And I don't know how many people showed up today, but there's a heck of a lot more than 150 people here, I think. I mean, at least that's been the buzz, and it's been between clinics when everybody's in the display room, it's almost shoulder to shoulder. Like you said, the clinics are well attended, and there's lots and lots and lots of models on display, which is always really nice at these events.
Well, speaking of models on display, let's talk a bit about what you brought down with you out of Connecticut.
Yeah, I actually, some of these are some old war horses. Anybody that's been to an RPM in the last 10 years has probably seen my RS1 and, DERS1B, and my DERS2, which is the Alco RS2. Still not weathered, but all detailed. But then I brought some boxcars built from resin kits. The most recent things I'm most proud of are my recent locomotive projects. I've got inexplicably a Boston and Maine SW1 that I did. You know, don't let the New Haven guys know. And but I did do a New Haven Alco S1 and Alco S2, all detailed with the low-profile cab that was distinctive to the New Haven. Purchased from New England Model Works, who's also also here at the show today. And I got enough. I brought enough display cars I could get a lot of raffle tickets.
Oh, there you go. That's what it was for, right? The more cars you bring, the more raffle tickets. You brought a whole big box to share with us. Does a weathered car that's being displayed ever really wear out anyway? It is weathered, so I don't think it ever really wears. You can keep bringing it over and over again.
That's true, and I figured the next time if I were doing it right, I would do each side different, and then I could just switch sides between RPMs and nobody would know the difference.
Yeah, just flip the A for the B end and you're good to go. Yeah, for sure. Well, I know we mentioned the New Haven Railroad Historical and Technical Association and the National Convention last weekend and your involvement with that. First of all, great event you had there last weekend. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we had to go to a new venue. We outgrew the old one, and so it was kind of a mixed bag. We didn't know what we were going to expect. Anytime you have a new venue, it's a little bit of growing pains, but I'm pleasantly surprised with how it worked out. We did have some, the inevitable glitches to start, but it was very well attended. Best guess, we don't have final numbers, but it's looking like we had in excess of 200 people that came through the gate. Unlike where we were last year at a local tourist railroad, we didn't have any just, walk-off traffic like we did last time. So all the people that showed up to our convention last weekend were people that wanted to be there. And a famous person once said, it's not how many, but who many shows up to a show. And so I think it was a lot of folks that were there to buy, that were there to see the model announcements, from Rapido and Broadway Limited, and also to see a lot of great New Haven Railroad content. I know I'm biased, but if you're a New Haven Railroad fan, you really need to come up to the annual convention. I think it'd be worth your while.
Well, you talk about the who many instead of the how many, and I think that's really kind of what the RPMs are too. We like to see a lot of people here, but it really is about the who many here. Just amazing modelers all joining together, along with new modelers and intermediate modelers, all coming together, all for one purpose: the camaraderie, the learning, to be able to be with each other and be able to ask those questions and get that coaching, get that help that we need to get over and get ourselves back to doing some great modeling.
Yeah, that's one of the neatest things about this is, it sounds a little cliche now with these RPMs, but being able to see and, old friends make new friends, having the social aspect is very, very important. But one of the things that I'm most excited about, and I guess I'm a little bit of a teacher at heart, because seeing younger modelers, and not just younger in age, but, folks that are even older just getting into the hobby, being able to, give them the benefit of, what experience you have as far as, what's worked for you, what hasn't, the questions that they ask. I mean, this is an environment where that's the point, is to ask the questions and to get the information and to share techniques. I mean, it's a very, very sharing environment. People, almost will talk your ear off and almost talk too much about how they've done a certain thing or worked through a certain project. But that's exactly what you're here for. And so it really makes it very worthwhile to come and share alike, really.
Absolutely, and yeah, it's fascinating to see the varying interests on the very laser-focused type things, and that's what we get. You've got Tony Sisson's big rivet counter over there. You got Butch Eiler into the weathering. You've got historical societies. You've got folks with photographs. You got just a wide variety of not only information about the prototype, but how to emulate the prototype, how to bring what you saw trackside to your layout. And there's a lot of that information sharing going on throughout the entire event.
Yeah, the resources here is, I would say the resources are widely varied, because not only the stuff that you would expect, there's the paper, there's the photographs, there's the models, but the resources of people, resources of experience. You come here and this is our tribe. These are the folks that are doing a lot of what you're doing, what you hope to be doing. And so to be able to interact with them and have them live right here, you don't have to do it through a keyboard or even online. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's nothing that replaces in person, being able to see stuff up close and personal, be able to talk to these people. I mean, that's really what this is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to ask you about your own personal modeling and your involvement with the New Haven Historical and Technical Association. And if I say that name enough times, and what the people won't be able to see in the audio is a visual of me reaching down to my name badge and taking that sticker and reading it upside down so I can make sure I say it right. But with your involvement there, what's the challenge for you as you're going through all this historical information for the New Haven to go, oh, that's something new and I got to model that? Do you have to fight those temptations?
I had to earlier on, but I guess I'm a little OCD because whenever I finally alighted on the Valley line, it really helped focus my efforts, focus my research. It helped a lot that I had a couple of guys that, one of which took pictures of the line back during the late 40s, during the era that I model. He's still with us. Name's John Wallace, and his photos have always been a great reference. And also Max Miller had binders and binders worth of photos. So in that respect, it kind of was chosen for me because I had all these resources at hand. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that I do for the association is I'm the photo archivist. So we've got all these binders of photos, 18,000 that we've cataloged so far. And every once in a while I'll go through and it's like, oh man, Holyoke, that would be really neat to model. Some of the mills in Fall River, oh my God, that would be really cool, and do that on a shelf layout. But you only have one lifetime, so you got to choose wisely. But yeah, there's a siren song for some of these other areas on the New Haven, and being president of the association, having access to all these resources in ways that we're trying to make available to the rest of our members, is something that the temptation you gotta be strong.
Yeah, you got to keep those guardrails up and be able to. Yeah, but it must be difficult not to be able to slip back into that ignorant bliss.
It really is, actually. One of the attractions of maybe modeling something new is that sense of discovery that you have whenever you're first modeling a new area. The fun of researching and everything is a new discovery because you've never seen it before. And the Valley line for me, I mean, it's a well-plowed vein that I've gotten to, and it's hard to surprise me anymore. And that's a little, in one sense, it's a little sad because I know probably more than anybody else about that particular line. But now I'm getting into the freight cars, and there's freight cars from all over the country, and learning about freight cars from different railroads and how they went through my layout. I mean, you get to levels that you just don't get to until you've been with your layout for a while, and so that helps a lot as well.
Yeah, well, it's a good reason to stick with it, learn as much as you can, continuously learn about the railroad that you're modeling and the area that you're modeling, because I'm sure you'll uncover yet another neat nugget of information that will help you along your model railroading journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still waiting for a couple of photos that I don't think actually exist, but I'm hoping that once I build the model, all of a sudden they'll magically appear, because it's, do a model on your best guess, and then you find the prototype photo later. You end up having to redo it. I mean, I'm hoping for that for a couple of things. Hasn't happened yet, but inevitably I'm sure it will.
Well, awesome stuff. Well, Chris, it was great catching up with you. I think we're going to be doing some more catching up with you when we get you on with Don Iris, and we talk about operations on your line, and looking forward to that. Haven't had you on the show since 2022, so I think we're well overdue for that. So great catching up with you here, my so-called neighbor from Connecticut, not too far away from me, but great to catch up with you down here in Baltimore.
Thanks so much, Ray. I appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Around the Layout. Learn more about today's episode, check out past shows, and much more on our website, aroundthelayout.com. Show your support by becoming an operating crew member at aroundthelayout.com/crew. Follow us on social media, aroundthelayout.com/social. And send us your feedback, aroundthelayout@gmail.com. Thanks for hanging out with us around the layout.